The Israel-Palestine conflict stands as one of the most enduring and complex geopolitical disputes, rooted in historical, religious, territorial, and cultural factors. Alongside this conflict lies a discourse on Western involvement, perceptions, and actions, often perceived as contradictory and biased, shaping the narrative and resolution attempts. The conflict traces back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, entwined with the establishment of a Jewish homeland in historic Palestine and the displacement of Palestinian Arabs. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War led to the creation of the State of Israel, marking the beginning of the conflict, which has since witnessed numerous wars, uprisings, and failed peace initiatives. Western involvement in the conflict has been a contentious issue. While Western powers, particularly the United States, have been influential mediators and supporters of Israel, their policies and actions have drawn criticism for perceived bias and inconsistency regarding human rights and international law. One facet of Western hypocrisy in the Israel-Palestine conflict pertains to the rhetoric surrounding human rights and democracy. Western nations, while advocating for democratic principles and human rights globally, have faced criticism for selectively applying these values in the context of the conflict. Many argue that Israel's policies in the occupied territories, such as settlement expansion, demolition of Palestinian homes, and restrictions on movement, contradict these democratic ideals and infringe upon Palestinian human rights. Moreover, the United States' unwavering support for Israel, often in the form of financial aid and diplomatic backing, has been a focal point of contention. Critics argue that this support has hindered impartial mediation efforts and emboldened Israel in its actions, potentially obstructing the path to a just and lasting resolution. The issue of media portrayal and public perception also contributes to the narrative of Western hypocrisy in the conflict. Many perceive Western media coverage as biased towards Israel, framing the narrative in a way that favors Israeli perspectives and downplays Palestinian suffering and grievances. This perceived bias fuels a sense of injustice among Palestinians and their supporters, further complicating efforts to find common ground and lasting solutions. Critics highlight the discrepancy between Western condemnation of human rights abuses in other regions while simultaneously downplaying or ignoring similar violations in the context of the Israel-Palestine conflict. This discrepancy fuels accusations of double standards and selective application of international law, undermining the credibility of Western powers in advocating for justice and peace in the region. Despite these criticisms, some argue that Western involvement, while flawed, remains pivotal in facilitating dialogue, negotiations, and peace-building efforts. The need for unbiased mediation, adherence to international law, and a commitment to a two-state solution that addresses the legitimate aspirations and rights of both Israelis and Palestinians remains paramount. In essence, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains a deeply entrenched geopolitical issue, where Western involvement has faced scrutiny for perceived inconsistencies, biases, and challenges in upholding universal principles of justice, democracy, and human rights. A nuanced, balanced approach that acknowledges historical grievances and strives for equitable solutions remains essential in fostering lasting peace in the region.